Hey, I'm Siobhan, community cultivator and founder of BeFree Project. The BeFree Project podcast was created for community, sisterhood, and personal growth. Each week, you'll be inspired and motivated to do the work to show up for yourself so you too can feel fulfilled and be free. Now grab a pen and a notebook and let's get into the show. The best decision that you can make today is joining the BeFree Inner Circle at BeFreeInnerCircle.com, a community for like-minded women to find their forever friends and get accountability to do their personal growth work. Your membership includes a private, exclusive community of women who are not only showing up for themselves, but for one another. Weekly live events with me and or guest speakers, daily accountability so this way you can finally get stuff done, mentorship from yours truly, and so much more. Now, there's no long-term commitment and you can cancel at any time. However, I can guarantee the moment you join, you're going to feel a warm embrace and you're going to want to stick around. Every single member of the BeFree Inner Circle will walk away with clarity, fulfillment, and confidence because guess what? When you're around me, you're going to win. So come and grow inside the BeFree Inner Circle at BeFreeInnerCircle.com. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the BeFree Project podcast. You already know that I'm so happy that you're tuning in for another week. So what I'm loving this week is my Keepers of the Light Oracle cards. For some time, I have been wanting my own deck of cards just to kind of get started with working with them. And so I was on a girls' trip back in December in Chicago, and my friends and I went to the store called the Lotus Den. And I was drawn to the store because it's all like crystals and incense and sage and sound bowls, all of the things. And I'm like, I'm going to buy my first deck of Oracle cards. And so I go and I check out the different cards, and I had picked up another box first. And then I felt this energetic connection pull towards the deck that I actually bought, which is called Keepers of the Light. And I don't know, maybe because I am light and I'm connected with that, maybe that's why I felt drawn to the cards. But anywho, I purchased them and I absolutely love them. So I'm really still in the beginning stage of working with them. I pull a card every day or every other day, and I will say that they have been on point with the wisdom and knowledge that I'm getting from them. It's so funny because today I pulled a card and it was the exact same card that I pulled the day before, I believe. And I understand what the angel card is trying to tell me based on what I'm pulling. So I'm into Oracle cards. I'm really loving this deck. I plan to buy more decks in the future. I will link to the deck that I have in the show notes in case you're interested and want to learn more for yourself. Okay, so let's get into today's topic, which is, it's all worth it. And this is fresh on my mind this morning where I drafted all of the notes for this podcast. And I'm like, I have to record this in this very moment because this is the space that I am in. A few weeks ago, I had this thought that every step that I'm taking, every decision that I'm making, is all worth it. And this came to my mind after having a conversation with my daughter about her healing, about her growth process, her journey, just all of the things that, we've been talking about. And as I'm listening to her, I'm like, wow, Siobhan, it's all worth it to be able to have this healthy conversation with your teenage daughter. It's worth it. And I took time later that day or maybe that weekend to journal about what I was feeling. And I cried because I'm like, when when I'm in the moment, it feels like sometimes the journey can just feel so heavy. But then having the conversation with my daughter, I'm like, it's all worth it, Siobhan. It's all worth it. And I even wrote in my journal, I would do this thing 1,000 times over just to get to the moment that I'm in today. Every choice that I've made, I will say it hasn't been easy, but yet seeing both of my children and they are emotionally and mentally healthy, it makes it all worth it. And first and foremost, like even seeing my growth, right? Even seeing how much I've grown over the last year, the last 2 years, shoot, over the last decade. I started therapy for the first time in 2012, and that was a very, very, very hard choice for me. I have been going to church week after week, praying to God to heal me from the pain that I endured from my childhood. And there were days when I left church feeling worse than when I first went in. And I just wanted some relief, and it was hard. It was tough. And I chose to go to therapy for my children because I didn't want them to relive my childhood pain. And I made a decision that I would start therapy and I would talk about my mother wounds in a way that I had never talked about before. And it was really, really hard. I mean, I went every single Saturday for 4 months straight, processing the pain from my childhood. And while I was doing it, I was like, I feel helpless. I feel like hopeless. I feel like nothing is ever going to change. What am I going week after week after week just to talk about this? Like, where's the change? And I was mentally and emotionally exhausted. But I kept showing up for myself and I kept showing up for my children because now, 10 years later, I could see the fruit from the seeds that I planted. And I'm reminded every single day that it's all worth it. And it does not feel good when you're in it. It feels like it's just this hopelessness, because you're like, when are things going to change? But I just kept showing up. I kept showing up with the tears. I kept showing up with the pain because I knew at some point things had to get better, And today I no longer suffer from mother wounds. In fact, I've healed in such a beautiful way that my mother acknowledged what she did and she apologized. And I talked about this on several episodes where that has changed so much for me, where I'm figuring out my identity and who I am now that I've healed. But had I not committed to therapy or starting therapy 10 years ago, I wouldn't be in the place that I'm in today. And even throughout the years over the last decade, I kept going to therapy. I kept doing my work. And again, it wasn't easy, but now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm like, oh, absolutely, it was all worth it. I'll do this again and again and again. I'll talk about it till I'm blue in my face because this is a part of the work. Like it's not supposed to be easy. There are times when you're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to want to give up, but you got to keep going because I'm an example that is worth it. And I'll be able to share more about this year of transformation as I get further along in it and what that means even moving forward. But even if I think about when I started my company 8 years ago and how challenging it was because I didn't have any entrepreneurs that I was connected with. And so I had to figure a lot of things out on my own. And there were so many days where I wanted to give up. There were so many days where I'm like, this is too hard, But I didn't. Like, even when I think about the early days of the BeFree meetup and I was having in-person events, like there were times when 3 people showed up, 3. And I still said, I know this is worth it. Until now, when I have in-person events, they sell out in 2 weeks, And it's like, wow, Siobhan, you've come so far, And even when I think about showing up in my company and I'm able to help women all over the world do their inner work, and then they share their stories with me of how they're healing and they're growing and they're becoming more free, it's all worth it because I keep showing up for myself. And when I keep showing up for myself, in return, I'm helping other women do their inner work. So I won't change any part of my journey. In fact, I'll do it again and again and again because I know that what I'm doing today is worth it. And even when it feels like, man, this is so hard, it's okay. I'm reminded that I can do hard things. And it's not going to always be hard. It's just hard in this moment because it's unfamiliar, because it's new. I'm experiencing my feelings and really feeling my feelings now and allowing myself to just sit still in the moment. Discomfort is expected. And because I'm allowing myself to sit in the discomfort, I know what's going to be on the other side of this, right? And so if you can relate to anything that I'm sharing today, you may feel like giving up. You may be thinking, what is all of this for? You may feel like I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm mentally and emotionally exhausted. What is the point? I'm going to tell you, the process sucks. The in-between time, it sucks. You will not feel good sometimes. But if your goal, which I'm going to trust that that's your goal because you're listening to this podcast, is to be free and to find fulfillment in your life, then you keep going. You keep going no matter what. I say this all the time that doing the work, it works. And I know that to be true because every day I show up for myself. And that's me taking baby steps every single day. And some days my baby steps look like me taking a break and just resting. Sometimes my baby step is going to therapy. Sometimes my baby step is feeling my feelings. Sometimes my baby step is waking up at 5 a.m, doing my meditation and getting to work. I mean, every day there's some step forward. And because of that, I'm able to experience the joy of truly living my life. I'm able to experience what freedom feels like because I'm choosing myself. The point is that you owe it to yourself to find freedom. You owe it to yourself to do your work. And again, your work will look different from my work, but you owe it to yourself to keep showing up. It may not seem like it, but I promise you, when you keep taking steps forward, one day you'll look up and you'll say, you know what? It was all worth it. Now, what makes it worth it? You'll begin to truly create the life you want from a place of intention. What makes it worth it is that you're going to discover what freedom looks like for you. You're going to be fulfilled where you're living the life you desire and not the life that somebody else has created for you or told you that you should live. What makes it worth it is that the people in your life, they're going to be better because you're doing your work. And I'm speaking that from experience. And that makes me emotional because in the moment, it's hard on me, right? It's hard for me to do my work. But when I can look at the fruit that have come from the seeds that I planted, I'm like, oh, that means everyone that's connected to you, Siobhan, their life will be better because you're doing your work, because you're going to be better. What you're going to need on this journey is you're going to need patience. You're going to need a lot of patience. I started therapy a decade ago. My mother apologized October of last year. So much has unfolded over the last 10 years. And it took a lot of patience to process and take it all in. It took a lot of patience to heal and to grow. Even when I think about my friendship breakup, that took a lot of patience to look at myself and say, oh, Siobhan, you showed up in this way. You got some work to do. But it was worth it to end that friendship because of the conscious friends that I have since added to my life. You're going to need a great support system, aka friends who truly get it. You're going to need a community because you can't do this alone. You cannot do this work alone. And you don't just need any community. You don't just need any friends. You need friends who get it, who will support you, who will check in on you, who will hold you accountable, who will encourage you when you feel like giving up. You need the right friends in your corner. You need the right friends, the right community that's going to wrap their arms around you and say, you got this. You need people in your corner that's going to remind you that it's worth it. It's worth it on the hard days, on the amazing days, and everything in between. You need someone to remind you it's worth it. Don't give up on yourself. And we all go through it. We all experience it. And you need an amazing support system in order to keep going. You're going to need belief in yourself. And that's one thing that when I started my journey a decade ago, in my core, I believe something had to change for me. I believe that life could not always be this way. I believed that at some point, I didn't know when, but I would not be experiencing the pain the way that I was before. I believed in myself so much that I was willing to go to therapy every single week and then even get more therapy after that group was over, after that 4 months was over, to even continue to go to therapy, and not just therapy, but continue to make healthier, whole choices, But I believed in myself so much that I was willing to do whatever it took to grow, to be free. That is like everything to me, my freedom. And so because that's something that I desire, that I'm striving for, I'm going to believe in myself that I can get there. Next, you're going to need a no matter what it takes attitude. No matter what happens in your life, you got to have an attitude where I'm going after it. I'm going to be free. I'm going to grow. I'm going to thrive in my life. And you got to be willing to say, no matter what it takes, whatever investment that it takes in myself, whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. You got to have a positive mindset. You really got to release those negative thoughts, those negative beliefs that you have about yourself. You have to release that. You have to have the affirmation to say every day, I'm worth it. I'm worth it. It is worth it every day. And then the last thing, you have to have self-love and love yourself enough to grow. Have compassion for yourself, giving yourself grace and allowing yourself to take it one moment at a time. It's worth it. It is worth it. It is worth it. I'm an example that it is worth it. And I want to be your support system. I want to remind you that it's worth it. On the days when you feel like quitting and giving up and you're like, I don't know who I can call, I want to be that person for you. I want to surround you with a community of positive, like-minded women who believe that it's worth it and they're doing their inner work right now. I want to be your cheerleader in your corner, rooting for you when you're winning and when you're feeling discouraged. And the way that I'm able to do that is inside the BeFree inner circle, where I can hold you accountable to do what you say that you're going to do, to help you have a positive way of thinking so that you can grow and flourish. The way that I want to support you and the way that I'm going to support you is inside the BeFree inner circle. So hop on the wait list at BeFreeInnerCircle.com. And when the doors open, be the first to join. I'll be in contact with you via email. But again, hop on the wait list today so that I can be in your corner, holding you accountable to do the things that you desire to do most. Again, the website is BeFreeInnerCircle.com. Your journal prompt for this week is, what area of your life have you seen the most progress over the past year? Don't forget, you can always share your responses with me for your journal prompt by tagging me at BeFree Project, and I'll take a look. Your affirmation for this week is, I respect the cycle of the seasons. Now I want to shout out my coffee giver of the week, which is Celeste. And she says, good morning. Keep shining today. Thank you for being you. It's my pleasure, Celeste. And thank you so much for treating me to coffee. And you too can do the same by going to the link in my show notes and treat me to a cup of coffee if you want to support the work that I'm doing, if you feel inspired, if you received any words of encouragement today. I would love for you to treat me to a cup of coffee or 2 or 3. Thank you in advance. As always, I want you to share this episode on Instagram and tag me at BeFree Project. Don't forget to follow me over there on the gram. And I want to inspire more women to be free. So please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts with a sentence or 2 of what you loved about the podcast. This way it can be visible to more women out in the world. And then lastly, I want you to share this episode with a friend that you want to encourage. Text her the link or tag her on social media and say, girl, listen to this podcast episode and then let's chat about it. Until next time, girl, be free. Thank you for listening to today's episode. And now I want to personally invite you to join the BeFree Inner Circle waitlist. That's right, the doors are currently closed. However, they will be opening soon. And I want you to be the first person to know when you can join the most amazing community for Black women to do their inner work on their personal growth journey. And everyone on the waitlist will have a special treat from yours truly. So head over to BeFreeInnerCircle.com and hop on the list. And I can't wait to see you in the community.